Welcome back, everyone. Welcome, all of you out there in YouTube land and whatever land you live in.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Indeed, it is because we are the Saturday morning sages. This is Saturday evening, actually. So,
Indeed, I'm just like gonna let you keep like talking about this, like giving you this ominous vibe and all, like
you know,
Saturday morning
I was
sages and
trying, I
all.
was practicing my NPR voice. Am I doing all right? No, just kidding.
You're doing quite great.
Great. If we talk like that for the entire thing, um, it might be a good way for people to fall asleep.
Exactly. So
Do
if
you
you have
remember
a
that
song,
old? What was that? What was that old one? The sweaty balls and Saturday Night Live.
Sweaty balls, like yes, like with Alec Baldwin talking about with like Sherry O'Terry or
Yeah,
Williams and Gasteyer and all, like talking about the
and
sweaty balls.
yeah, they're like it's basically that's what NPR news sounds like. They nailed it, man. I'm telling you, they nailed it. Anyway, when I drove to work, I used to listen to all the NPR stuff when I was in the mood for news. But every now and then, I got to just turn the tunes on. You know what I mean? So, anyway, so let's talk about this thing. Let me see if I can't share this. We can talk about this. Share
pr- proof
Yeah,
proof that
'cause
our
it's something that's what we've been talking about like previously, like about the legal
yeah
status of Cross. And, like holy crap, man! It's like the legal status of Cross has been like resolved since like the last time we talked about it.
So let's read this because I did read this when Jason you gave this the news, and it's pretty damn awesome. I have to admit, and there's a lot of people who are saying exactly what I'm saying, but really the meat of this, there's a whole bunch of this. There's a lot to this article, but really the meat of this is right here in this first paragraph. The rest of this is just kind of the background, and like all that cool stuff and what happens here, and maybe this piece as well here. But let's read this through. It says Big West Studio New and Harmony Gold USA announced on Friday from the writing of this article, which was on April the 8th, um, that the companies agreed to allow the immediate distribution of most Macross television sequels and films. The agreement signed on March 1st also confirms that Big West will not oppose the Japanese release of an anticipated upcoming live action Robotech film. Big West will no longer contest the Harmony Gold USA's exclusive license with Tatsunoko for the use of 41 Macross characters and mecha designs in the Robotech television series and related merchandise outside of Japan. The companies agreed to cooperate on the distribution of future Macross and Robotech projects. And then what follows is a bunch of background stuff that talks about like all of the Macross different series that came after Super Dimension Fortress Macross, which is what
Yeah,
the first Robotech saga is based off of. So essentially, it's dubbed, and some of the premises are changed to fit that whole storyline. Um, so, and if I go further on here, it talks about the overseas Tatsunoko licensed various rights to the first Macross series, as well the two anime series, Mospita and Southern Cross. That's what it's basically built off of. And then they wanted to go ahead and create Robotech 2 The Sentinels and then the Shadow Chronicles in 2006. Harmony Gold USA also signed two live action Robotech motion picture deals, 2007 with Warner Brothers and in 2016 with Columbia Pictures. No live action films have yet been released, but Jason Fuchs, Wonder Woman, was writing a script for the Robotech film. Okay, that's nothing because we need something else besides that. So, but the
basically
rest is
it's like
just
it
some
means that
litigation stuff here. But yeah, go on. Mhm.
basically it means like like all the people who were opposing like Robotech, like development of Robotech stuff, like up to this point, have realized that okay, it's better that we get like maybe the possibility of some money like from Robotech than like no money. It's like at all, which is like where we were at like prior to this to the development of this license.
Yeah. So so let's kind of break this down just a bit. I'm thinking, and and then take a look at this first paragraph in particular here, where it says, um, so that the companies agreed to allow the immediate distribution of most Macross television sequels and films. I'm curious as to what that qualifier means, but okay.
Most means like everything except Macross 7 because god damn it, like
Well,
nobody in America likes Macross 7. But
well, and yeah,
we will like I guess we will defer to like any dissenting opinion on that. But John, it's like
well,
what do we think about Macross 7?
well, I mean, I think that when we had discussions about this before, that as much as that is ideal, like, that the reality here might actually meet the fans' wishes just based upon the licensing of all that music that's in it.
Yes.
And that just poses its own set of problems. Like, what was it? Is it Crunchyroll or something like that? Now I'm going to talk about a series maybe you or Myron haven't watched, or maybe you have watched, Inuyasha. But I remember watching this on what do you call it? Uh on like Inuyasha on Crunchyroll, and like they cut out they cut out, like, they cut out the soundtrack for the intro music, and they just put in generic music from the anime itself. And I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but a lot of the intro songs, and this might be the issue that I'm talking about here, is that a lot of those intro songs for Inuyasha, whether you knew this or not, they were actually songs. Like, they were like, it's not like they were made for the TV series. They might have been, but if I understand this correctly, like, the licenses on those things were pretty high. Like, those artists who made those songs, it was just kind of nuts, So
yeah, I heard that this is true. Is like when it comes to like Macross 7, but like this is like one of those like weird situations where it's like okay, like Macross 7 like soundtracks is like a big deal like for the Japanese audience, but for the American audience, like we could hardly give an F, man.
Yeah,
like,
yep,
like
exactly.
imagine what that F means.
Exactly, like fill in the blanks. It's just like
Fill in the blanks, yes, sir.
It's like Wheel of Fortune, Um, so
yeah, because like we've got like America has like, I mean, like there seems to be like a very like a wide gulf of opinion between like what Macross 7 means in terms of the like Macross franchise, like in terms of like the people who've seen or fan subbed Macross 7, like in like when it was relevant, as opposed to like people like think about it now, and it's like, my God, like this seems like a really goddamn stupid series that like, you would like care less about. But John, it's like is this a right opinion at all? So I'm talking to someone who was like actually like seen and like put themselves through Macross 7 and all.
Yeah, given my choices at the time, which were sit and twiddle my thumbs or watch Macross 7, I chose the latter. So, and it was because, let's face it, late when I was working in operations, and just be very straight about this, at the place I was working at, after 6 p.m., I had run all the jobs I needed to run. And hey, this is like, everything's running. Well, I've got some studying to do. Okay, so I do a little studying. Like, okay, I'm done with that. Now what? Hey, let's bring out the crash cut with the VHS. Yeah, remember the thing, the tapes? That's right. So, and I had all the sub tapes. And
that was the thing, like when I was young and all.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. This is how people watched movies back in the day, is they would take out a videotape. So I picked up these fan subs on videotape, and I was like, oh, let me just watch these. So I watched, I don't know, it's like 50 or 70 episodes of this thing. I'm like, hey, it's Macross.
Because you had nothing else to do. It's like, as I remember you telling me, like back in the day.
When you think of like, kind of like speaking in an abstract here, like when you think of like the resume that something like, hey, it's a television series from Soji Kawamori, and it's a follow-on to Macross, you're like, fuck yeah, right? I mean, it sounds like
Sign me up, god damn
sign
it.
me up, dang it. It's got robots in it. Like, yeah. Hey, it's got Max and Million. Yeah, sounds good.
Wait,
And
you're telling me this is like the sequel, like this is like the proper sequel to Macross that like Carl Messick denied me back in the day, like back in the 80s and all. Like, yes, I'm going to like buy into this as much as I can.
Yep.
It's like even if it turns out to be like not actually what I wanted and all.
And maybe it's my mistake for thinking by episode 45 that things would be getting better.
What? By episode 45, like wouldn't you think like things would be getting better, like before episode 45?
You invested all that time in it already. You might as well just continue trucking through.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. It's like, hey, I've seen worse, but not much worse.
I've seen worse. I watched through all 2 episodes of It's like, oh, what was this? EX Arm back in like January. It's like with my buddy Steve. It's like we watched through this. We got like friends to watch through this, and like admit that it was like absolutely terrible. But was it like as bad as Macross 7? Huh. Good question, sir.
Yeah. No, like I've said on multiple occasions to you guys, and I'm going to say here for the record, there is the You Can't Unwatch It channel. The guy does like, I think he did like 3 or 4 videos, like just reviewing the whole thing. Like, that's all you need. And that might, I mean, and those videos are really good. But I honestly think that you could just take a sheet of paper, write out all the premises, and that's all you need to know. So anyway, with respect to this, I mean, this, if that's what most means, and it's due to licensing, to me, it's either a happy coincidence or it's totally on purpose. And I'm totally good with that. So Big West. Okay, so here's something interesting, and it's kind of by inference we're reading here, and I don't want to read too much into it, but I'm going to try. When it says, I know I'm trying to put a spin on this, man. I'm trying to put a spin on this. Okay,
trying to be like have like a neutral opinion on this. I can respect that, sir.
So it says that the agreement that they signed will confirm that Big West will not oppose the Japanese release of an anticipated upcoming live action Robotech film.
Because they want money, goddammit.
Now I'm wondering if this is related to the I believe it was Paramount who might have had, it was either Paramount or DreamWorks, I forgot. But I remember there was talks of a long time ago that they wanted to do a Robotech live action movie, and that Tobey Maguire, his name was tied to it. I think, as like a producer or maybe even starring in it. So I'm wondering if this is related to that.
Just something that I remember. I can say that I've heard about, but I think this is like hey, it's like they have talked about like hey, like any like big like American like it's like animated series. Like they want to like have a live action like adaptation of it at some point. And like Robotech falls into that category, like because it was big in the 80s, and like big when like like nerds like us like were like young. But is it actually going to happen? I don't know. It's like I think there's always that like that pull of these characters, like who have like some sort of like memory of the series. Like they're going to say, "Oh man, like Robotech, I remember that crap. That was great."
And see, that's the thing though. Like member berries have been hot so far. Throughout. I would say within the past, 15 years, like. A lot of the people who grew up with these franchises are our age, and they're in positions to bring these characters and stories to life. And I see where John pointed out where the Harmony Gold, signed 2 live action deals with Warner Brothers and in 2007 and Sony Columbia Pictures in 2016, and
2016.
I see that with Warner Brothers in 2007. Well, 2007 is when we got Transformers on the big screen, and remember
I
how
see what
that
you're doing there.
and remember how that blew up, and all of a sudden everyone was on the train like, oh, we're gonna do a Thundercats movie. There's a Thundercats movie in talks. There's a Voltron movie in talks. We're gonna reboot Masters of the Universe, Robotech, and so like a lot of these franchises we grew up with in the 80s.
Don't forget Transmorphers.
Oh Lord, Transmorphers, that piece of shit sci-fi bootleg.
I'm not gonna forget that because like it's all
so-
part of like the same thing we've talked about here.
And we can't forget about Tech Robot and Cat Storm Cats and all the other fun bootlegs that are in the works as well. But
everyone tried to cash in on that crap. But continue, Myron.
but no, like I feel like the nostalgia train has kind of slowed down a bit, but we're in a prime position to kind of like resurrect it and get back on that hype train. And what I mean by that is like, I feel like the Transformers movies have kind of burnt out that kind of nostalgia. Like, they burnt.
Yes, they have, sir.
They run it to the ground, and I'm kind of tired of Transformer movies. But I still hear word of like a Masters of the Universe reboot film, and there's still talks about Thundercats. Like, I'm wondering if like this Harmony Gold deal wasn't taken as serious because like the hype train for doing these motion pictures kind of died out a little bit. Well, now that we're starting to bubble up with more reboots, like we got Mortal Kombat coming out, we got Dune, video game movie adaptations are starting to get better, like with Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, I think we're in prime position to kind of have those nostalgic movies start being produced again. And maybe this is kind of like a driving force to kind of get Harmony Gold to get their heads out of their ass and start allowing Macross / Robotech products and merchandising and media to be reintroduced again. We've had this conversation many times before, and I feel like our bitching has finally come to fruition. I'm as Jason mentioned before, like, yeah, it's gonna be a while until we start seeing this deal bear fruit, but I'm really excited to get my hands on a new Macross Blu-ray collection, like things that have been released in Japan that we've never gotten. I'm excited to get that. Like for the first time ever, Frontier and Delta are going to be released out here. So
just to interrupt, it's like we're talking about like I think that the whole like part of like the like decision behind this like new like agreement behind like like Harmony Gold and like Studio Niue and Big West is like basically like some of these like companies that realize like, okay, it's maybe better to realize like, okay, it's better to get some money from this rather than no money at all.
Exactly. And it's like, to prove a point, John and I have spent quite a bit of greenery on Macross products over the past
in Japan.
In Japan, exactly. And John mentioned this before, but in the U.S. market, a company called Kits Concept has the merchandising rights to Robotech, and they produce like figures and models and statues and stuff like that, and they look really good. Don't get me wrong, but the fact of the matter is, when it comes to Macross products, mecha products, period, Bandai to me is the king of that type of molding and design and engineering. And all the Macross related Bandai products are only sold and produced to the Japanese market. And of course, as a fan in the US, actually any fan in the West wanting to get these products, you're going to have to pay that premium price. And so I'm not sure if this deal will, kind of add that capability to give us more access to it. But I'm pretty sure that, maybe through the USP Bandai store, we'd be able to have these products a little bit more available to us than we ever had in the past. So, like you said, Jason, good point. You guys sat on this property for like damn near 35 years, and over the past, like, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would say within the past 15 years, you guys have done nothing with it. The last thing I remember being released that had the Harmony Gold name, I think, on it was that Macross complete set collection on DVD that you picked up, John. And I remember kicking myself in the ass for not getting it while I had the chance. And that's the last like Robotech or Macross anything I've ever seen out here in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely is a money decision, right? So they're saying like, yeah, we need to cash in on this, and to Jason's point, yeah,
it's like we're not getting any money at all right now. It's like no one's trying to get like some money
when we have so many revivals of all these 80s franchises, and clearly this is an 80s franchise, at least in part, right?
Dude, yeah, it's an easy cash grab, dude, because it's like look at how much mech based type movies have gotten so much better. You look at like Pacific Rim, look at like even like Ready Player One when it had the Gundam scenes and everything in there. And now
it's like you bring that up, Myron. It's like I gotta admit that it's like Ready Player One was like an entertaining film, but as far as like something that like actually like really grabbed my like my imagination is like it was that like Mechagodzilla versus Mech versus Gundam fight at the end of the film, because like it's like because most of that film was just kind of like it's like remember Beetlejuice, remember like Mortal Kombat, it's like remember Back to the Future, it's like that kind of thing. It's like but when they busted out the whole like Gundam versus Mechagodzilla fight, I was like, God damn, that was amazing.
Yeah,
and like it got me like to thinking like, it's not just it wasn't just like one IP versus another. It was it was Gundam versus Mechagodzilla, and that was amazing.
And that scene right there actually showed me like I think we're ready to kind of tackle on these type of projects. I mean, I always think back that like to Super Mario Brothers the movie, like the Japanese will never trust us to do any other IP product anymore.
Well they should
because of that movie. But just seeing the mech designs and fights within Pacific Rim, and seeing the Mechagodzilla versus Gundam fight in Ready Player One, I feel like we're ready. I didn't even think that we were ready when Transformers came out, because like even though we finally got Transformers in the live action screen, I just felt that, and this is more of like Michael Bay's way of shooting, is like it was too blurry, it was too like sloppy in the way like some of these characters were designed, so where like you couldn't really see all the action going on. And so like these robot mech projects that we've done from 2007 and up, we've gotten so much better and better to where like a Macross movie or Robotech movie now would be totally legit.
Yeah, and also I want to bring this back to Godzilla versus Kong, because I think that the Godzilla versus Kong fights in that movie, great. It's like like it was. I think it was like fantastic. Like at some point that the guys at Warner realized that if we can't do decent like human stories in these movies, we just shouldn't bother at all. It's like, and yeah, it's like I agree with you right there. Do that, and then when we got that with with Godzilla vs Kong, when it was revealed that spoiler warning and all, it's like when that we're getting like Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla and Kong. It's like, God damn it, that was amazing. This was like a fantastic fight It's like, and like you're just seeing like like Mechagodzilla, like as the human, like humans, the human side of Godzilla, just saying, hey, like we've got this. Like we're gonna like deliver our version of Godzilla fighting like the Titan. It's like, and oh shit, like this Godzilla is like this version of like Mechagodzilla is like evil. Oh crap, we're fucked. It's like, but like seeing like like Mechagodzilla like being like this version of Mechagodzilla being like oh it's Ghidorah, it's like his brain like in this like mecha fight. It's like fighting against Godzilla. It's like, oh man, that's great. But then like see him beating up Godzilla, and then like showing like, oh, it's like Kong teaming like joining into this fight, beating up this like Ghidorah, this Godzilla version of Ghidorah fighting against Kong. That was fantastic, and that was great. It's like, and I loved seeing that like in the movies. Like,
Yeah,
it was worth like paying like an exorbitant price of like the theater ticket to see like like this version of like King Ghidorah, like like get beat up by Godzilla and Kong tag teaming him.
Yep, and that's the case in point where like we're taking these properties that were born out of Japan and actually telling compelling stories and being true to the content and actually representing the feel of these franchises. Like I feel like we're ready to tackle on a lot more of these brands, and that goes to John's point earlier. There's easy money ahead, and like you said, if they're it's better to make some than none, like by opening up and working together and making this deal happen, not only to appease fans and let fans enjoy this property again worldwide, but everybody could profit from this collaboration. And so
absolutely.
And so when you actually sent the original article, that was like the first thing I thought popped in my head was toys. Like that was the first thing that popped in my head was like, does this mean I can have easy access? And this is a theory I have, John. Does this mean I can have easy access to get these DX Chogokin figures? And once there's a more open market to where like Western fans could buy that, does that mean we will get re-releases of figures that we missed out on? Specifically like, Ichijo's like what is it, the VFY not the VFYJ, damn it, the VF1J.
Mm-hmm.
So
the VF1J, is that you mean Hikaru's first fighter?
Yeah, his first fighter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The one with the 2 antenna, right?
Yeah, the one with
the 2 antenna. Are you talking about the orange one or the gray one?
Not the orange one, but the one with the 2 antenna, like the one that's like on the intro of the show.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
The one we missed out on, and now it's like $500-$600.
I'm willing to bet that one will actually be re-released. Actually,
yes.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yes,
but yeah, if it's so there is a very high possibility that could happen, and things could be co-branded just like the other Solo Chogokin and the Voltron sets that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a Voltron slipcover on top of the
Go Lion box,
the Go Lion box, or the Dairuger 15 box. So which and like I said, that co-branding, that's money right there. It'd be a dumb thing to try to kind of ignore that. And honestly,
wait, so did they do that with your Voltron too, the car Voltron?
Oh yeah, they absolutely did.
Oh, okay.
That's smart money. Yeah,
it
you
is.
Know what I mean? That co-branding, because now you got both. And while the car Voltron / Dairuger figure, I mean, it's not as popular as the Go Lion / Voltron, Lion Force Voltron, whatever you want to call it. That one's way more popular, but them co-branding it, like they couldn't even keep that shit on the shelves. I mean, that like the new pre-order opened up and all of them were like filled out in like an hour or two. I mean, less than that. Like the news came out, and I remember you sent me that article, and it was just like gone. I was like, what
Mhm.
the heck, So I mean, but that's the power of it, right? The power of a franchise. I mean, let's face
Mhm.
it. Now, Voltron did have a, there was the DreamWorks series and whatnot, but this is the classic we're talking about, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
might have given it some back appeal, to like people who saw let's just say they saw the DreamWorks version first, and they said like, hey, there's a whole other thing going on here, but they did have those figures in the stores. You could get them like Toys R Us was even selling them; they were still around.
Mhm.
You could get them from Target and all this other stuff. But that was for the new DreamWorks version of the robot, and they did release kind of a retro version to
They
as
did.
well, kind of parallel. But there
Mhm.
was money there, and it's like, oh, okay, so even related to an old franchise, imagine, and trust me, and this is like, I think the Toy Galaxy guy did a really good job of like pulling out like all of the different licenses. There's also another guy online who did it as well. Retro blasting, where he talked about like, hey, and retro blastings, I kind of like it because he talked about like back then they had problems with toys in the first place.
Mhm.
Like they were gonna release like a transformable Macross. Well, they were gonna try to license those things, but because was it Harmony Gold and Matchbox were trying to license some of those. They got like one thing, maybe some of the small super deformed things like Valkyries, but they never
Yeah.
could get they could never get a hold of the other one because of other problems that cropped up. I mean, that figure wound up as Jetfire in the Transformers series, like as in
Mhm.
that's the toy that came out, and that was part of the problem. But nowadays, it's like there is definitely a market for that. There's definitely like a resell for this, and co-branding it would just increase both brands' value. Um, so I think that's and we not only would we see that, but we would also see things like from follow-on series. Macross Plus had a pretty good release here under Manga Entertainment, the OVAs and the movie.
Mhm.
Um, but it really hadn't been revisited. Now in Japan, they already went through their, hey, here's our remastered version of this thing, boom, and it was out there. And if you've seen it, it's incredible looking. It's cleaned up, everything else, and it includes, I think, the manga dubs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the
So
international version.
but we did not get it here. We didn't
No.
get that. Go on Amazon. You still, yeah, and if you went on Amazon, you couldn't really find. You could find the older versions of it, but then you go on eBay and you can find these Blu-rays, the remastered ones. They go for like almost $400, and that's just
Yep.
ridiculous. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about like a very, I mean, it's a good series. I don't know if it's $400 good. Like,
Mm-mm.
you know what I mean? And
That's
this is the kind of,
That's $100 in
But you set
OVA.
us up, sir.
yeah, it's just like, what? Like 400? Like, I'm not gonna, that's like, I got more money than I know what to do with. So
Mhm.
mostly it's been denied for, a remastered version, which is like seriously needed. The manga versions were released like in the 90s, like on videotape and then later on DVD. And
Yeah,
like
'cause I
all they
remember
did was
what.
transferred it over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And nowadays we have 4K ultra high definition TVs. Throw that DVD in there and throw it on your TV, and it looks like crap. Like
Yeah.
it's not scaled. Like even upscaling does not help those things. But all they have to do is they can re-release it, they can co-brand it. Yeah, you can put Harmony Gold, you can slap your little label on there too, because you can put that on there, like, oh yeah, Harmony Gold, no longer a name we hate, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Release the Do You Remember Love, which like has been for hardcore Macross fans, has been a thing for, I mean, like I remember people talking about this in old anime expo circles and things like that, and it's just sort of like, it's just, and it never like, like, yeah, can we get this and with this, and then fan subs came out. I have a few of them, but nothing was ever definitively released here, and we've gone through several anniversaries of the Macross series itself. again, co-branding would just give. I mean, it's sort of like, yeah, would Harmony Gold? You want some money? Do you like money?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that conversation in Idiocracy, right? It's like, I like money. Like, come on, man, it's not hard.
And see, this is where I wish a lot more companies would do collaborations like this, because that's how art becomes lost. And this is a big problem within the video game industry too. Like when I think about like the arcade X-Men, or like the arcade classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like those games were done by Konami back in that day, but then now like Nickelodeon owns Turtles, and um Marvel based video games are, done by whoever Disney partners with, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's like a lot of those games would never be re-released, because it's like, oh well, it's due to legal tie-ups based off of like who, like the company that developed it and who owns the property now. And so and I imagine a lot of like cartoons and books or games, a lot of art gets lost to that due to legal tie-ups. And even now, I'm starting to buy a lot of anime, as what's the company called, Discotech recently like acquired a lot of
Yeah.
licenses to a lot of anime, especially like old Genian anime. Like I've been watching Hajime no Ippo like a madman, and buying everything that I can from that anime while it's available, and God knows how long it's going to be available. Look at Transformers, the animated series back in the day, John, where there was those silver boxes that I think were done by Rhino. I think Rhino produced those, and then after that license expired, like it was hard to get Transformers cartoons until they released them on Blu-ray. And I forgot who did that. Maybe it was Shout or somebody. But because of these legal tie-ups, sometimes we end up losing a lot of this art. And so I feel this is a prime example, this deal being struck, of what other companies should be doing, because there's money to be had. Like I don't know if it's greed saying like, well, we're not going to release this because we don't want to pay a percentage to this or negotiate for this. Like, whether you're making, some, it's better than none. And on top of that, you have a lot of fans out there with disposable income who are willing to pay and re-experience a lot of these franchises. And so like, I'm all for this deal, and I'm super excited, because I was hoping like, cool, we're gonna start seeing shit by the end of the year, maybe early next year. And I understand like it's gonna take some time, but the fact of the matter is like, as long as we've been conversing about Macross in our conversations, a lot of the time Harmony Gold will get brought up, and we're bitching and cursing them out because they've been holding this franchise hostage. And now there's like a negotiation to where like, okay, I can actually enjoy this again. And they're going to have a long road ahead of them too, because like, you want to start bringing in new fans, like, they need to do like what Voltron did, like re-release like a new series, and under DreamWorks, a new modernized style to try to bring in like the older viewers and their children, and broaden the fandom. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. Well, here's something interesting, and this might be one of the saving graces at this stage in the game, is that while you do have things like Blu-ray rights, like, oh, okay, yeah, Funimation. I'm just saying this. I'm not saying this is a fact, but
Right.
Funimation can, those like, yeah, we got the license to, now we're working with them to distribute, some of these series. Fantastic. On Blu-ray, right? So now we can go to the stores and buy them on Blu-ray. But I also, the other kind of thing that's not, in this article at all, are the streaming rights, which
Right.
can be on a totally different level. It could be a different company altogether. And the
Mhm.
reason why I know this is because on Amazon currently, I think it's Amazon.
It's Amazon.
And I remember when they came out with the Super Dimension Fortress Macross under streaming rights, and they can do that. And that's the only one. They haven't done the other ones. So
Mm-mm.
because I know that one had been released, so they had to have done that somehow. And so with that in mind, while maybe not a Blu-ray immediately, like maybe they want to really spruce it up, maybe what they could do is just release them there, and then add them to the, do exactly what they did with the Super Dimension Fortress Macross. Anyone who has
Mhm.
Prime can stream it for free. They can just
Mhm.
watch it, and they can kind of go through the whole thing. There's several things on Amazon Prime that you can watch for free. One of them is the entire Star Trek series. Like, for as long as I can remember, all of Star Trek is been available on Amazon Prime for streaming, like, period. Like, there is no restrictions to it. Like, from the original series all the way through Enterprise, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like I've never seen it drop or anything like that. The movies are a different story, but I'm not talking about movies, I'm talking about TV.
Right.
But when it comes to, like, and so they could do something the same way for, like Macross 7, for example. They could do that. I'm sorry. Did I say Macross 7? I
You
meant
said
Macross
7.
Frontier.
Frontier.
Please do not
Yes, you
do
did.
that. So Macross, they could do it with Macross Plus, Macross Zero. They can stream those for Amazon Prime, thereby just giving it kind of some free free advertising. And then the other thing is they could stream Macross Delta, Delta
Mhm.
being the most
Mhm.
recent of the series. And why and and the reason why that's important is because since it's so recent, it's going to probably tend to appeal to some of those newer fans, right?
Right.
And I'll give you an example of this because I do like this series. You guys might not, but that's all right. Don't care. So so Card Captor Sakura, okay, had a I don't know if you guys ever watched, like, when Card Captor Sakura was adapted for the English audience and released on Kids WB. Do you remember this? They called
I
it
remember
Card
this. I
Captors.
think I don't think
Yeah.
I watched it long enough to see oh, I remember when the period you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking
So,
about. Yeah.
oh yeah. So it was horrible when I watched it because, first of all, they, you know, it, it's not like a translation. It is like, we're gonna reformat the show to undercut the main character and make it more of an even series, and make it appeal to boys as much as it does appeal to the girls, because you can't have a heroine. Mind you, WB did this, okay? WB and
Mhm.
I don't know who was, Nelvana maybe, but they did this. They changed the premises of that show to appeal to a male audience,
Yes, I
Mm.
did. I remember
and
that.
and it was disastrous. It is terrible. Like, they renamed people, characters, they changed premises, and it was like, oh my, what are you doing to the show?
They butchered it.
Yeah, they butchered it. They literally butchered it. I'm not. I've watched the show. I've watched it with my kids, and they, that, not that show, but the original Card Captor Sakura, and
Mhm.
they liked it. They liked it for what it was. Not this other one. I used to tease them with that other one. It's like, hey, let's look at Card Captors, and, like, I think you can still, like, there's probably some corners of YouTube where you can watch this. I don't recommend really, like, trying to chase it down. It's not worth it.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, my point being is that that series was pretty much complete and done, and not Card Captors, but I'm just going to talk about Card Captor Sakura. So it was already done. They had released it on Blu-ray, even here, had a appropriate subtitle, but I don't think it had a dub track. I don't know. I can't remember. I know I do have it on Blu-ray now. Anyway, so so I was thinking, yeah, hey, this is cool. It's gone. And I remember it was about 3 or 4 years ago. We went to Fanime, and Jason, you might remember this. And I see
If it's
cosplayers
that
dressing up
Fanime,
like,
then
huh?
I'm sure I remember it.
Yeah. What's that?
If it's that Fanime, then I'm sure I remember it.
Oh yeah. So I just noticed someone's like cosplaying as like Cardcaptor Sakura, and I was like, oh, I took some pictures. I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Blah, blah, blah. And then someone said like, oh yeah, there's new manga. So what wound up happening is that the manga, like, so the newer fans read they're like, hey, there's new manga, and then there's a new anime that eventually came out as well. But the
Mhm.
people,
the Clo card.
the clear card is what it's called. So the clear card saga, which I have not seen and I can't attest to because I just haven't seen it. However, my point being here is that people start reading that manga going like, hey, there's this whole other story I'm missing. And they went
Right.
back to watch that old story or read the original manga and watch the old anime, and it generated a new fan base. I mean, we're talking about a series that was released like 20 years ago, and
Mhm.
then within the last 5 years got an entirely brand new like fan base. It's just
Right.
and that is my point being, that's what you can do with this. So for me, it's like, okay, I have not finished watching Delta, but if it brings in like maybe the manga, like more people read that and people get
Mhm.
interested, especially if they love mech anime
Mhm.
and all that other stuff, it can bring in that and then retroactively like pull them in to this base. But the locking out of these, this legal agreement until now has really kind of crippled it in a bad way.
Right.
And it's like, again, it's sort of like this was a problem, from a dollars and cents perspective. It's sort of like, okay, I don't know what you're fighting about, because if we go back to the statement here, where they said Big West will not oppose the Japanese release of an anticipated upcoming live. Does that mean that Big West was against it? Like, there's some implication here that maybe that's what's happening. That
Mhm.
there was like, oh, you're gonna do that? No, you're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. No, you won't. But then there's Big West, Studio Nue, and Tatsunoko, and there's like this. It's just kind of like a complicated web. Is people like are quick to so like,
The
okay,
Big West
Harmony
and
Gold.
Tatsunoko are basically acting as spoilers to like expanding the popularity of Macross, like even if in its Robotech form, like throughout the the world itself.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it's sort of like, okay, well, maybe this just frees them to make that that movie. Okay, we'll see what they come out with. Regardless, they can start
I'm
co-branding this
sure
stuff,
it'll be great.
stream this
No,
stuff,
not really.
and maybe manga. You might actually see manga translated and released here for stuff that they've released for that's been over there for a while. So
Did they do Macross manga? I didn't know that.
don't know. Well, there's always a good way for us to find out.
Because
It
even
is Anime
like
News Network after all.
yeah, because like Gundam, for instance, like it's been like it took a while for me to realize like, oh, they like, where's this Gundam from? And then there's like little manga. Well, I shouldn't say little, but there's like side stories to certain series where it's like, oh, okay, they continued on with this story, or this is a prequel or whatnot. So I never even investigated Macross to see if they had any like manga or side stories either.
Yeah.
But that goes to your point. We've been deprived, so it's like, how would we know
Mm-hmm.
unless you like actively looked yourself? But I mean, there's so much exposure of other series to where like it kind of diverts your attention away, and it wasn't until like, I guess it really wasn't until I saw that Roy Fokker DX Chogokin Valkyrie that it reignited my fandom. Like, oh man, I need to get back into Macross. And so, because I didn't realize like, the celebration that they were doing of this series at the time. So
Let's see if we can't look it up here. Under anime, and let's see
But
here.
also,
See if we have
I
that.
think what I would love to see is that since English voiceovers are have gotten a lot better with English dubs
That's
of
true.
anime series, I would love to see Frontier and Delta get some English voiceovers, maybe even the original series get some redubs. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing manga. Well, there is some manga listed here under 7. I mean, sorry,
Hmm.
Frontier.
Yay!
Using that, but
You have 7 on the brain.
yeah, I don't know. It's like it's really bad, like mind control, um, using music. So you can see like in the Wikipedia. I'm sorry, this is not Wikipedia. This is Anime News Network's encyclopedia. They have under their related stuff. There's a big chunk of Robotech here. But then you also have Macross 2 plus, but all these there is 7 trash manga. I remember this is a spin-off, but I do remember about that. I didn't read it. Frontier does have a manga, which is an adaptation, and that
Okay.
so there's at least that. Delta might, I don't see anything for Delta here. Interestingly enough, it does say that 2015, 2016 was when Macross Delta Television was out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Wow.
movie came out in 2018. But if we just take it that, from 2018, that's already got some years on it as is, So
Hmm.
um so that's kind of like, yeah, time ticks. And then the next thing is that I believe, let's see here if I read this correctly. Um, so we have the vintage of the original Macross series, October of 1982. Next year will be their
40.
40th anniversary, and there's probably so. I'm willing to bet, yeah, I said bet that there's going to be something that's going to come out that's going to capitalize on that. For
Most
sure in
definitely.
Japan, we're going to have to see what they do globally.
Mm-hmm.
2022 is going to be a expensive year.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think yeah, it should be an interesting year for sure. I agree with that. But I think that we're in for I'm going to be optimistic on this one, gentlemen. I'm just going to say that we're in for a nice revival of this franchise. This is okay. So I'm going to say I'm hoping for a nice revival of this franchise.
I agree, and you bring up a good point
Mm-hmm.
with bringing up the 40th year coming next year. I mean, it's almost as if the stars lined up to where like work out this deal now in 2021, and then in 2022 let's celebrate this. Let's celebrate this brand with a big 40th anniversary blowout to where everybody can profit and enjoy from this.
Yep.
So I agree with you. I'll throw my hand on that bet too.
Yep. Any other comments on that one, Jason?
No, that sounds good. It's like I would like to have the opportunity to buy any outstanding Macross series that I've watched in the past, like legitimately, and also Macross series that I've talked about like on this podcast legitimately.
Yeah, I have many fan subs and things like that reflect all of the Macross series, and I will go on record as saying if they make a appropriate release, I will buy them on Blu-ray. Period.
Most
It's
definitely.
I will
Mm-hmm.
support the franchise, and I don't think I'm just the only one to say those kinds of things. I think that there's a lot of fans who would go, "Yes, let's do this."
I mean, shit. Kill la Kill is on like 2 streaming services. I have Netflix and HBO. Yet I am such a fan of that series to where I forked over the cash to have that great complete edition Blu-ray set. There's something about physical media and its presentation and its packaging that is still appealing to us old schoolers. And
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
and like you said, with fan subs, and even the videos you provided us, thank you for giving us that insight back into a franchise that I haven't been able to watch regularly since 1997. I want to support the brand, I want to support the products, and actually have a nice complete collection of the Macross series, the movies, and all the other television series that came out after that I never got a chance to see. And so I'm really happy to hear this news as a fan, that we're finally getting some due with this franchise, and also the capability to celebrate our fandom with products and news that come out between now and 2022.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, so yeah, I think that this is and I'm actually looking forward to maybe even a proper release of all of these songs here by Mary Ichima. I mean, I love these songs.
And I
I'm
love
not gonna deny it. They are
yeah,
really, really good, guys. Like, and there's a lot of people who believe the same.
I agree. Yeah, Macross always had great music, and
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get my hands on soundtracks as well. And
Yep.
so, and as I mentioned earlier, recently, Macross has had a lot of great video games, released throughout the years that never saw the light of day out here in the United States. I mean, I think the last Robotech games came out, during the PS2, GameCube era, and then Game Boy Advance, and nothing else has come out from that. But I actually paid the extra money to import games from Japan. The Ace Frontier series for um, um, PSP, and then there's the Macross Delta game on PlayStation Vita, and then of course both John and I, picked up a copy of this Macross 30, and you actually have the hybrid pack of Do You Remember Love, which is on my list to import as well. I mean, there's so many lost games that fans of flight sims you could have had a chance to play, but then of course, this is appealing to the fans of the Macross universe, where you have that flight sim slash mech fighting sim all in one package, and they're really fun games to play.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that even though I have those, I'll also support those being re-released. And my copies work just fine on a PlayStation 3 that I have. But if they were to release them as downloadable type content, I would be happy with that as well. Or hey, throw it on the Switch. I mean, it seems like a lot of Japanese games are landing there anyway.
Hell yeah.
These older ones,
Mm-hmm.
just throw them on there. I'm totally good there.
And as a fan of mech anime and mech shit, period, I'm at least thankful that I've been getting Gundam love out here too, because I did the same thing for Gundam for a while, like importing a lot of games that came out in Japan only, and I had to pay the cost to import and play out here. But I believe over the past, I would say maybe starting with the Vita PS3 generation, we started getting the Gundam Versus series out here, which is a game I imported many times over for PSP. And that's one of the top, at least in my opinion, this is like one of the top Gundam games on consoles. And I would equate this to the Macross's Ace Frontier series. Like, at least I was able to get those localized in the United States and get to play that at retail price, but and with English translations. So yeah, there's a lot of great Macross games that we missed out throughout the years, and this is probably far reaching, far fetching, but yeah, maybe to have like a remaster or a port over to a modern console like the Switch or PS5 or whatever would be a nice treat. Even though we've imported the Japanese games, like my Japanese sucks to where it takes forever. it takes forever for me to like read the hiragana and katakana and get the gist of what they're talking about. And so
Yeah.
I'm having that issue with Hajime no Ippo right now. Like, oh man, I'm spending like 20 minutes trying to assign skills during a fight. So
You're sitting there with your phone on Google Translate going like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like, let me see. Let me rescan this thing.
yeah, like for the most part, if it's in hiragana and katakana, like I could kind of read it and get the gist of it. But if it's in kanji, it's like, oh, I gotta research this shit and then and take notes.
So true.
I see your problem there.
Yeah. So I got this Macross game in the mail today, and I'm looking through the manual, and I'm like, oh shit, dude, I'm gonna have to look up some YouTube videos or some game facts or something, because like, I have no idea what all this shit means. And so like, just like any Japanese game, you kind of hop on it, play it, get the gist of it, and then if there's something like you're not getting or need to understand what it says, do the research.
Yeah, there's some Macross fan out there that's they've done it, or sites. I would doubt it. I haven't done a lot of researching into them personally, but I think that should be too difficult. Definitely YouTube stuff, because I've seen videos of these already. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, there like throughout my years of importing Japanese games, like there's a lot of people out there who do fan translations or and really are helpful guides to kind of help you navigate through the game as far as like options and settings and things like that. And then of course, like fans translations if you want to actually know the entire story. I mean, there's a lot of diehard fans out there that want to play these games as well, and unless they actually do like a English translated fan project, a lot of them just kind of put out guides there to help other fans get along. So I appreciate that community out there who have done the work to allow me to enjoy these games to its fullest capability throughout the years, stemming from PS2 all the way to now.
Yep, exactly. All right. Any final thoughts, guys? I know. Well, that's pretty much. I pretty much put my final thoughts in there, and I'll just say, overall, I'm cautiously optimistic that we will get this stuff out. But I'm thinking that the anniversary next year is probably going to be a big catalyst of all of this stuff. So, and I'm looking forward to not paying those premium gaijin prices for my stuff. That's my bottom line there, man.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I don't know, like, I'm kind of like after buying the super parts today, I'm like, okay, this is it, for a while. But there's a couple Macross products out there that I'm a little bit tempted to, like, maybe if I got a bonus or something. But the responsible adult part of me is like, even though you can get it, should you really get it? So I mean, it's okay every once in a while, but you can't buy every freaking $300-400 Macross figure that's out there. But I'm hoping that with this new deal and the future endeavors of the Macross brand, like we can kind of get these products at a more fair cost.
Yep. Hey, just think of it. They'll sell more of them too. Because
exactly.
Marketing to one. Although I kind of, just with these Bandai looking like Valkyries, they sure did produce a lot of them.
They sure did it. And
like, I'm willing to bet if they released them all, that every child in Japan might just be, just might be able to get one. But I don't know if that was their intention or if they knew that this stuff would be trickling out, because it's a big moneymaker. I know that some of them trickled to my bedroom here.
I mean, they're the way Japanese culture like celebrates its its art, its media. Like it's I was listening to an IGN podcast in which a company gave their employees the day off when Monster Hunter Rise released, because they knew people called off to buy and play that game. And so like with Macross out there, it's a celebrated franchise in Japan, and so yeah, I can imagine them like producing many copies of certain figures because it's highly popular out there, and plus they might also consider like there might be some beyond the East that are willing to buy too and willing to pay that premium price. So they produce it. But even me growing up in Okinawa most of my life, like when some new product or some new Dragon Ball something came out, I mean it was a big deal. It was a big deal when like a new arcade machine like hit the arcade, like King of Fighters 94. Like I remember like all of us went to Sega Land right after school to go play that game. And so I mean when it comes to the Macross the Bandai DX Chogokin line of figures, like these robots, like they put in the time and the quality that warrants the pricing, excuse me. And you have a couple, John, I have a couple now, and it's like they're works of art in my opinion. Like that's why like with the cost, it's like it hurts. But this is something like if I had like a rotating what do you call it, like a motorized like Lazy Susan or something.
Carousel or something.
Yeah, like a carousel, whatever they're called. Yeah, if I had like a big house and like a museum like room, I would put that Voltron like right in the middle and just have it rotating 24/7 because that it looks like they built it straight out of the cartoon.
Yeah. I'm still working on my displays for these things, but it may not take place until I decide where I'm going to be buying the house that I'm looking to get in. No, I'm not anything serious now, but I'm definitely going to have my display room with my collection neatly displayed. I don't know if I may or may not have dioramas with it. I might just have backgrounds, but it's something that I'd say like, yeah, let me tell you about this piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And or let me tell you about this set right here. I don't aim to have like, levels that I see like some of these cats on YouTube, like Bobby Skullface and stuff like have. Like it's like I'm like, I appreciate a collection like that. Trust me, I do. But I'm like, I don't know if I want it to be that big. I admire it, but I'm like, for my own needs, I'm gonna have just a nice, I pretty much have the vision in my head of how these things are going to be laid out. The Macross one is going to have some very specific stuff in it, and it won't be exhaustive, but it will be enough for me. And these Valkyries, just to kind of wrap that up, it's like they're perfect for that. Like I have and I told you I have, well, you already know I have the old Yamato in the same scale, and it doesn't really hold a candle to this version. I mean, these are great. So we're going to see those, and they're just, I mean, I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg with those models, but I digress a little bit because I didn't know, Jason, do you had any final thoughts on the whole deal?
Not really, but it's like today I actually sat down and watched Unforgiven with my parents.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I will agree that it is a good movie, but as far as like, is it a great movie? That's kind of where like I think that I'm lost because I enjoyed it, but I think that in terms of like, it's like what I was expecting, it was not as good as I was expecting, in the sense that, okay, it's like it's a revisionist Western. It wants to show you, what what it was like for people to achieve like respect like in the Western, like in the West back in the day. In the sense that you're going to like get your legend, by like shooting the guy in the back of his head as he comes out of his porta potty. You know, like back in that era. It's like, and like, you know, like I can understand that, but I think this is something I probably would have. I think in order to get the full appreciation of this film, I think I would have needed to have seen it back when it came out back in '92.
Right.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, that would be the case. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to sign us off. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you all next time.
Right on. Enjoy the
Later,
weekend, guys.
everyone.